Does anybody got anything for the pre-show? Anybody got a small joke or aside that they'd like to tell?
Your penis, a small joke.
Hello, and welcome down to the abyssal lair of the Radiophonic Sea Creatures. Practice snorkeling in your bathtub because I, Tokyo Chuchu, am going to be your host today. And with me, as always, are two men who are so simpatico that one actually lives inside the other one's butt. It's Human Metal and Brack. So yeah, how are you guys? How are you, Human Metal?
Stuffed butt.
So it's Brack in your butt.
Living in Brack's... yeah, that's the question. Am I living in Brack's butt or is Brack living in my butt? I don't know.
Maybe you're living in each other's butts. It's kind of like the human centipede.
Oh shit, I wanted to make a human centipede joke.
Again, you weren't quick enough, but as a compensation, you are allowed to completely take over the shallows, Brack, because I have nothing to talk about besides being swamped over by work. So there you go.
Oh wait, you were talking? Sorry, I didn't hear you. I was smashing in like Russian gangster skulls on Hotline Miami 2 right now. Because I'm playing Hotline Miami 2. It's literally the first game in over a year that I bought on launch without waiting for it to get discounted first. So, just for that, it's kind of unique. Don't laugh, Chuchu. Don't laugh. You know I'm greedy. You know.
Well, was it worth it, or is it worth it?
Yes, it's totally worth it. I haven't finished it yet because it's actually probably a lot longer than the first one, but it's a lot of fun. I really like it. It's more of the same, but I wanted more of the same. More of just super intense violence, like over top, super difficult, a very frustrating like video game. And like it frustrated me already like multiple times by how difficult it is. It goes over the top, and maybe like the violence and like actually might like reach levels that is uncomfortable for me. So that says a lot.
Holy shit. I can't even imagine that. Like, what has to go on in there to make you uncomfortable?
A rape.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And then it just cuts back and it's like, oh, it's on a movie. It's not really happening.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
It was like a controversy about it, right?
Yeah, right.
But still, it's still fucked up. So, yeah.
The thing is, like, where is the line, though? I mean, where is that line for you guys? Like for me personally, like two things I really don't want to see in a video game is three things actually is like rape and kids being killed in video games. Like I don't like some people say like why aren't there kids and stuff in Grand Theft Auto? And I'm like, why the fuck would you ever want kids to be in Grand Theft Auto and torture as well?
You know, actually, if all the kids were Joffrey, I would be okay with it.
Yeah, oh no, don't get me wrong. Hey, now some fucking some emo type, skate teenagers, that's fine. But when I'm thinking like little kids and stuff, like when I'm thinking of kids, I mean, hey, there's no, I got no problem with punching a teenager or two in the face.
You mean like killing babies in Dante's Inferno? Those were demon babies, to be fair.
Yeah, like stuff like that, or killing toddlers, or like before they get a chance to get. Children
had something like that as well. What the fuck?
Did one of the Dead Space games also had like demon baby things?
Yeah, I don't know, but a lot of game creators apparently want you to kill children. So there you go.
An interesting point for me was the torture scene in Grand Theft Auto 5. I really did not like that scene at all. When that scene came, I really didn't want to do anything. It's like, I can't believe they're going to force me to fucking play this horrible section of this game. Like, and
the torture section, right?
Yeah. And I understand what they were going for. They were kind of trying to make a political point of torture, resolves nothing. So it was kind of anti-torture in its own way, but to actually make you as a player, simulate fucking waterboarding someone or smacking someone breaking guys' kneecaps with a wrench or whatever, it's like, they should have given you the option to skip that, I think. But hey, what the hell?
I guess because that scene, I haven't played it, but I think I've seen a video of it. It's so so graphic and feels very realistic. It gets you uncomfortable the way it's framed. So if they wanted to make you actually feel bad about it, I think they did a good job. And feel guilty and shit like actually evicted emotion.
I think the problem was mostly that they should have let a different character, not Trevor, do it, because the character itself doesn't feel guilty at all. He just gets off on it. So maybe if like one of the other characters was like watching him do it and like showed how disgusting it was, or.
But also, it makes you feel bad in a wrong way, I think, because the rest of the game is, the violence is so like OTT and stupid, like you can easily run over like, people in the street or, shotgun a whole bunch of people and feel nothing about it. But then, and they kind of promote that in the game, by letting you play that way. And then suddenly they force you to really like focus on a kind of realistic, really intensely like violent and nasty section to make a point of showing you, that like torture is horrible or, it's pointless or whatever. But it's juxtaposed with the rest of the game, where you're just running around like a fucking crazy maniac. So
I think it felt in line with the rest of the story because it was still over the top by the way it went down.
It's weird because there are, for example, the old at this point old Punisher game from Volition has torture scenes in there, but they're so cartoony and so over the top that you just I didn't get uncomfortable. I was just laughing my ass off because he's doing so much stupid things with these guys, putting in the wood chipper and stupid shit like super crazy. It's incredibly violent, but it's so crazy that you can't take it seriously. Like, I mean, there are probably some people who get who get really uncomfortable watch this, like it's too big for them in general. But it's not like this is realistic. This is something that's actually happening. This is so comic booky, so cartoony. I didn't mind that actually.
Do you know where the line goes for me in GTA 5? The line goes right on the stripper's ass, and you just sniff it off right there.
Amen to that. So, Brack, apart from Hotline Miami 2, have you been doing anything else?
Nope. I haven't played anything else. I didn't have the time. So, yeah, that was kind of depressing.
Oh yeah, now that you speak of depressing, I got something else that I just remembered when you said that. Just yesterday, one of my favorite authors died, Terry Pratchett.
Oh, I heard about it.
Yeah, and I really I liked his books. I've listened to all of them in audiobook versions, and he was a fantastic writer and wrote like these really endearing and incredibly funny fantasy books with a lot of parodies on real events and things in them, and I got a lot of that, and I really appreciate him as an author. He's been battling Alzheimer's for quite a while over the past years, and was a defender of I don't know what's the English word to euthanize people, like choosing your own death. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's actually what happened now, but he was a really, really great author, and he will be missed.
Yep, poor Terry Pratchett ain't in Discworld anymore.
So, anyway, off that depressing note to, I guess, what Choo-Choo has been doing.
All right. Yes. So I briefly, just to get off this depressing shit, I'm gonna highlight something hilarious that I saw on the OGS site, actually, the Outlaw Gamer Society, which was, I think, one of the mods, actually. Rowan posted this comment from social media, which made me laugh so fucking hard. It's from an employee of Rare who basically tweeted, I think, or something on social media. Busy day so far at Rare HQ, but the sun's finally out. Maybe spring is on the way. Spotted a heron at the pond this morning. And some guy's reply to his tweet was, Rare is it? Fuck you, you're shit. You should have stuck with Nintendo, you greedy, hungry fucks.
What the fuck?
So, there you go.
Well.
People are assholes. So,
at least he's honest.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I saw a heron today. Go fuck yourself. But apart from that, making me laugh, like the major thing I've been playing this week is the Order 1886. So yeah, so
you went out and did it, huh?
Yeah, I did. I pulled the trigger on that. So the reason I pulled the trigger was because a lot of the negative things, as I was discussing with Human Metal and Brack actually prior to recording last week's show, some of the negative things that people were talking about seemed like positive things to me. Like, for example, that the game was very short. Like, actually, to me, not having a lot of time to game recently, I was like thinking, yeah, okay, like 5-6 hours, I could definitely play a game of that length. And then there was the whole thing with the game being very linear and very story driven and a bit like a standard kind of third person shooter. All the games on my PlayStation 4 at the moment are all huge open world type things like Dragon Age Inquisition and Grand Theft Auto 5 and Far Cry 4. So I also am craving something with direction. Like, just a simple A to B, shoot a bunch of guys, enjoy the cutscenes, like that type of experience. So I decided to actually buy the Order 1886. And I'm just going to say straight up front that I love that game. I think it's great. It's actually mind-boggling to me that people have ragged on it so much because it just is one of those games to me that there just doesn't seem to be anything particularly wrong with. I can't comment about length, because I haven't finished it yet, although I get the feeling I'm very close to finishing it because the story's kind of peaking. So I get the impression that maybe 1 or 2 chapters later I'll be finished with the game. But even the length I've played that game, I feel like, I've had a good run. I've had enough to satisfy me. And also, because it's so short and so concrete, I also believe that that's a game I'm going to play multiple times as well. Because it's really, really great fun. And I can't see how people can overlook the fact that the game is so fun and it's so beautiful. The graphics on that game are beyond anything I've ever seen ever. Like, easily, hands down, I'm saying it now, the best graphics I've ever seen on any game ever in my life. Like it beggars belief at the time. It's like there's sometimes your mouth just falls open. You're like, what the fuck? How this is like truly next level shit. How is this possible?
I saw a video by or a review of the game by Angry Joe, and he just highlights a scene where he walks up to a street lamp, and there's like this really complex animation for the actual flame or torch in that street lamp. Or the light in there with reflections and a bunch of shadows and everything, and looks so amazing and so realistic. Really cool stuff. Like just small details like that. Not even the grand shit. Like if you look at the scenery, that there's a lot of that too, obviously. But even the small stuff, production wise, the game is incredible. It just looks fantastic. I think that's the most appealing thing about the game. Like, it's just looking at it.
By the way, all the people I know that dislike the game for being so short has probably at least spent over 4 hours just taking screenshots.
Yeah. With good reason, I guess.
For me, but also like there are some really iconic moments in that game. So I don't think it's really a spoiler to say, but there's a moment where Kew Gardens in London Hyde Park, which, if you're an Englishman, you've probably been to Hyde Park and seen Kew Gardens yourself. There's a moment where you see that destroyed and in flames, like in the nighttime, and like the flames coming out of Kew Gardens are like lighting up the night sky and stuff. It's and it happens at a particular. I don't want to spoil that moment, but it happens at a peak, like, emotional moment in the game, and like that scene there is like one of the definitely one of the most iconic images I've seen in a video game. Like graphics and emotions working together to create something like unforgettable. It's fucking amazing. And the world, I love the world of the Order 1886. Like, it's a game that immediately makes me want to go out and find fan fiction. Like it's the lore and the depth of that world seem really, really well defined, and like, I really want to know the history, and I really want to know what happened, like how things got that way.
Interesting. Like, I was still interested in the game, so I will definitely check it out, especially after what you've said.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely check it out. And also the cutscenes are amazing. Like many people complain there are too many cutscenes, but it's fascinating. The story's brilliant. I love it. Like the characters.
Really?
Yeah. There's again, I can't, no spoilers, but I'm trying to do it without spoiling. But there's a scene where I think there's one chapter that is just one cutscene, and people were like saying, people were complaining, yeah, this whole chapter's like a cutscene. It's like, so yeah, oh no, that chapter. Where there was just this really long cutscene where all the characters were arguing with each other and shouting at each other. That was fucking brilliant. It's just like I wanted to set down the controller. I could have easily sat there for like 1 hour watching that. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah. If it was like a movie, would you watch it? If it's like a movie from the Order 1886 with like the same story, and if it's just a game, would you play it?
Well, I think
just the gameplay.
Well, the thing is, no. Well, the thing is, the gameplay is good. I mean, but yeah. Thank you, Breck. You reminded me about something. You just cottoned onto a point that I really wanted to make actually about the Order 1886. So people complain about there's not enough action and too much story. But I feel they've missed out on what the Order 1886 is trying to do, which is basically truly give you a movie you can play. Now, if you think of unless you're watching something like fucking Hard Target, where literally Jean-Claude Van Damme killing like 100 fucking guys, in movies, they're very...
And punching snakes.
Yeah, and punching snakes is amazing. It's a great film, actually. I love that. But anyway, when you play games like cinematic games like Uncharted, there are moments that don't seem real because, Nathan Drake gets literally kills 100 guys, in a fucking action sequence. Like, for example, that scene in Uncharted 2 where you're kind of holed up in that church in the middle of the square and like it's like a horde mode. Guys just keep coming.
Yeah.
That's good gameplay, certainly, but it kind of pulls away from the realism. I feel the Order 1886 gets the balance of perfect. Like, the amount of people you kill are realistically proportionate to that situation. Like, it doesn't extend action scenes beyond what the narrative needs of it, if you can understand. Like when you're on the airship, for example, there's a scene on an airship and you're fighting with the guys on an airship. The amount of guys on that airship is obviously going to be relatively limited. So, it feels right. Like there would be that many guys, or the action sequences last as long as they would in real life. So instead of getting into an arena and you're fighting 100 guys, it's literally like 7 or 8 guys, like that. And then they succumb, they surpass the situation and move on to the next thing. And the Lycans too, like when you fight them sparingly, but when you fight them, it's always in an excellent cinematic way. Like again, people will say it's QTE, but the fact is they missed the fact those QTEs are fucking brilliantly designed. Sure, it's a movie you can play, but it's still fantastic, And because you get to play the action scenes yourself, you just have much more connection, I think, to that story and those characters. So I think the Order 1886 is literally the movie you can play, like one of the very greatest examples of it. But if you're looking for extended gameplay sequences, where you just keep going and going and going and going, and the deluge of bad guys never ends, that's not the game that's going to do it for you. If you want a great narrative where all the action is kind of integral to the story, the 1886 is excellent. So I think it's a pretty interesting experiment. So there you go. That's my experiences so far with the Order 1886. And with that, we're going to move out of the shadows and into the depths. Welcome back to the Depths. So today on the Depths, we're actually going to be talking about EA. So EA obviously is a company that is, I guess, mostly viewed in a negative light, but we're going to be talking about both the positive things and the negative things of EA. And the positive things are actually going to be some of the great games that the company has produced. So we've each chosen a bunch of games, and we're going to talk about those games. Yeah. So let's crack on with the very first game on the list. So, Brack, why don't you tell us what would be first on your list?
Yeah, first on my list, that would be Mass Effect 2, of course. And that's probably one of the best games like EA has ever made, even or published. Like they bought the company that made the Mass Effect games after Mass Effect 1. And they just gave them a bunch of money, and then they made Mass Effect 2, which in my opinion was a big improvement over Mass Effect 1. I know that's not entirely popular opinion online, because I know a lot of people that think that Mass Effect 1 was great, Mass Effect 2 was just like a standard, like
Stupid people.
standard shooter, but it was especially Mass Effect 2 where I just really got into the characters and the story and was really excited by all of it. I really liked the gameplay, which I really didn't like that much in Mass Effect 1. The shooting was a lot of fun, but it's definitely the what I liked the most was the interesting world. Like Mass Effect is always like been really great at world building, and I think they did that the best in Mass Effect 2, where like every new world was really exciting when you go there, and even though you didn't have to couldn't explore that much, every new world was still like really. Oh, I'm so excited because to see the new environments and maybe some new aliens and maybe some other stuff. Like it was really a unique experience.
Definitely. Mass Effect 2 is also the first thing on my list. I never got the complaints from, people that preferred the first one over the second one. I mean, I understand that Mass Effect 2 is, incredibly streamlined when compared to 1, but I don't see any negatives, especially when you compare it to Mass Effect 1. I mean, if it was any other series, but okay, let's look at what did they take out in the first game that would be considered
those super fun, interesting missions where you drive around in the world.
In the Mako, right? That handles like a wet sack of shit. Yeah. Oh man, I would have why didn't they put that back in there in Mass Effect 2? Wander around on the Citadel for like 4 hours without doing any interesting side missions.
Literally in the beginning, I quit Mass Effect 1 twice. First, because like I played it in the beginning, and was like I got grain all over the screen, like there was the grainy like the background. I was like something is wrong with this game. I couldn't play it. The second time I looked later on, I looked over that, and I got lost in like the Citadel for the first like 2 hours of the game. And I was like, fuck this, I'm not gonna play this anymore.
Also, those incredibly interesting RPG elements that they streamlined for the sequels, like where you could upgrade your characters in a specific way. Man, those were so important and interesting. Man, we couldn't have lived without those. I guess, yeah. Of course, it limited it, but the covering system was much better, and everything just felt better.
Yeah, and
more tightly designed. Just Jesus.
Even some of the RPG elements actually, because I think like. In Mass Effect 2, almost every upgrade feels meaningful.
Yes,
where in like
exactly.
Mass Effect 1, like some of the upgrades felt like they like nothing really changed.
I've just everything about Mass Effect 2 I found better. Okay, the finale to Mass Effect 1, I'll give it that, felt a bit more epic in terms of story. Just the story in Mass Effect 2 in general felt a bit more, closed off, just this dirty dozen in space thing that was a bit off from the rest of the story. But I like that. It had this really neat, personal, gritty feel to it, and it felt like a nice in-between chapter before the big setup and the big finale. And we all know how that turned out. And so I felt that was like a good departure from the overall epic nature of the first one, and it continued the story in a good way, like introduced a bunch of interesting new characters that all of them I liked. So, and all of them got really interesting stories and felt like a complete and interesting character. And then the third game came out and wasted them. But yeah, it's the best part of the Mass Effect series, hands down, and I won't even try to to give it any more thought.
Yeah, and also it's one of the few games where I played like all the DLC, because the DLC for Mass Effect 2 was pretty great as well.
Oh yeah,
like it had great DLC, like Lair of the Shadow Broker especially was really good.
That was great.
Yeah, I really like those getting the team together story, like those stories like that. That's always fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect, I can't comment on the differences between Mass Effect 1 and 2 because having a PlayStation 3, I never really got to play Mass Effect 1, and then I kind of got tempted a little bit when they released the HD remake or whatever on PlayStation 3, but actually never got around to it. So, but I liked Mass Effect 2. I agree what you were saying about the DLC, Brett, because for me the best moment in Mass Effect 2 is actually the Shadow Broker DLC, which was included on the PlayStation 3 disc. So, but I had some problems with the narrative. Getting the team back together is fine, but when you got the team back together, that's it. Oh, okay. And now the adventure begins. Oh yeah, I'm ready for. Oh, okay, that's the end of the game. I see. So, I didn't quite appreciate that. However, I disagree with you guys. As I've said a few times on the old Axe Assembly podcast, I think Mass Effect 3 was the best game in the franchise. I mean, sure, I'll definitely admit the ending was botched. I mean, no two ways about it. It was, but I think the gameplay and what you did in Mass Effect 3, I thought was more interesting than what you did in Mass Effect 2. But hey, that's my personal opinion. But yeah,
Actually, my opinion on that is kind of complicated because up until the end, I thought Mass Effect 3 was my favorite Mass Effect as well. But the ending was so shitty that it took down the entire game. But the ending was actually so shitty that it also took down the previous game. Yeah, I'm kidding. So, even with that, both games being taken down by how shitty the Mass Effect 3 ending was, I actually think that Mass Effect 3 might be the better game as well.
Yeah, I really love it. There are some absolutely amazing scenes, like the scene with the Thresher Maw.
Yeah.
That was a phenomenal gaming scene, and the second game had some really great moments, but I don't think it had the end of the line jaw dropping moments that 3 had in its peak moments. But I agree with Brack though, the ending was not the best ending that they could have plumped for, especially when the whole of the franchise was promised it all leads up to this, all the decisions that you've made throughout the past games are going to really matter, and then literally they don't mean jack.
Yeah, I didn't even care about that much. I just thought the ending was really stupid.
Yeah.
There are actually some good character moments right up until the ending. There's some moments with Captain Anderson right before the ending, and the last moment where you get to talk to all your crew members. That is some really great stuff. Really you get almost emotional at some points because you've been with those characters for in my case over 70 hours. So yeah, and that stuff was great. But then you had the fucking space baby.
Disappointed.
So we'll come on to the next game on the list, and I guess that's going to be one of mine, and also Human Metal's going to join on this because his is kind of connected to this too. But I'm going to talk about some of the great racing games that EA has actually put out. So I go through these individually. So I go through them kind of with the one that Human Metal's more interested in at the end. So first of all, Need for Speed. The original Need for Speed.
I got a need for speed.
Well, he did have a need for speed until he banged his head on the fucking cockpit and died. So yeah, and just what kind of death certificate is that? Shot down in a hail of enemy gunfire. Amazing, he literally was burning alive in his jet or whatever, and burned to death. Or that's an amazing death. He banged his head on the cockpit and died. Oh wow, great, thanks. Anyway, so Need for Speed, yeah. And that was a Top Gun reference for those who have no idea what I'm talking about. How does that? What's he talking about? There are no cockpits at Need for Speed. What?
Yet. I wouldn't be surprised if EA is going to try to make Need for Speed into their GTA series or something. We're making an open world game, a free roaming game out of Need for Speed.
They already tried that.
Yeah, they already did that, didn't they?
Yeah, but you can't get out of the car.
Oh, okay.
They tried a lot of stupid shit for Need for Speed. Let's be honest. Yeah. A movie, a racing game with quick time events, stupid shit.
I mean, You know, what was that with the movie? You know, like Aaron Paul, fresh, straight from Breaking Bad, his career-defining role, and you're like, oh yeah, what's he gonna do next? Need for Speed? Are you fucking kidding me? What the fuck?
You know what he was? You know what he was gonna do next?
What?
Cash in and bang a lot of models. That was what he was gonna do next, and he did that with Need for Speed. Let's be honest.
Well, I guess if I was a young boy, I might do the same. Yes, but hey, we're getting off point here. Need for Speed, the original game on the PlayStation 1, it was amazing. Seriously. Like, it's, Bragg probably doesn't know because he was like in nappies at that time, but, like, you think that's not a joke. That's probably literally true. But like, back in the day, finding a decent multiplayer racing game was hard to do. Getting a racing game where you had two cars on the track facing each other was a pretty standard thing. But actually getting a racing game with computer AI controlled opponents on the track with you was not an easy thing to find back in the day, as much as that is hard to believe now. But Need for Speed was one of the few games that had, like, not only did you have like a couple of AI races to race with, I think it was like up to maybe 6 or it could be 4, I'm not entirely sure. It was like either like 4 or 6, like split screen with your like your friend or whatever, but they had traffic on the road with you too. So that was an absolutely phenomenal thing back in the day and a real rarity, and it set Need for Speed apart from all of the other multiplayer races at that time. So, and man, my brother and I, it was just one of our like multiplayer staples back in the day, like Need for Speed. It was amazing, and the crashes in that were insane, because when you used to go really fast and you used to hit something, like all hell would break loose. Like the car would like flip up in the air and like bounce off of like cliffs and stuff, and like you could do that old multiplayer thing of like, you know, trying to engineer crashes. So my brother would like you know, kind of park in a narrow entrance like in front of a tunnel or something, and trap the AI races. And then I would plow into him at high speed, or we would like purposely trap the AI drivers to see what happened. It would be amazing. It would be like pinball with cars. It was great. But yeah, so that's one of the great racing games that EA made. To be honest, I haven't played many of the sequels for Need for Speed, but the original one on PlayStation and Saturn was just amazing. Another one on the N64, Hot Wheels Turbo Racing was a lot of fun as well. Maybe not so much in multiplayer, because unfortunately they did that shitty thing of limiting you to only 2 cars on the track, which fucking sucks. But the single player in that was great, especially because the tracks were just crazy. They had loop-the-loops, and you know, like there was this track, like a roller coaster, where you'd have to go up like a sheer cliff, and part of the lap was going up a sheer cliff and then turning your car around and going back down the sheer cliff the way you came. Like, it was amazing. Yeah, just a shit ton of fun. Nothing else to really say about that. You could do lots of stunts in the air when you jumped and stuff, and there were many other ways. There were many different ways to alter the course to actually stitch your opponents. Like, you could flip out walls and stuff by going over a button to get the guy behind you and stuff like that. It was a great fun time. And finally, the last game, which is also connected to Human Metal, would be Burnout, the original Burnout. Now, the original Burnout was on PlayStation 2 and GameCube. Again, much like Need for Speed, that re-caught my brother and my attention. I think you could only have maybe 2 cars on the track, but however, there were a ton of like AI drivers, like, and traffic and stuff. And the original Burnout was just an amazing, amazing time, and it was just so much fun. And I remember that was the game my brother and I used to play for hours, literally hours. We used to turn the volume down on our TV, just put on a bunch of rock records, and just fucking like rock out and just play Burnout. Like that was like the typical Sunday afternoon for us. So I got nothing but love for the original Burnout. And then of course they fucked it all up by, like, the crashes in Burnout were amazing, like the damage to the cars and stuff, but then I feel they fucked the franchise up by basically like making it too crash oriented. Like, the whole thing became about crashing and stuff. So and like driving crazy, and I think they took out the sheer thrill of like racing in the Burnout sequels. But yeah, hey, that's my opinion. How about you, Human Metal?
I completely disagree on the last part because my favorite Burnout game is the third one, Takedown, which was all about the crashes, like you said, and that like completely makes it divert from a lot of other racing games, which are either about the actual simulation or just driving really fast, really good, so that you don't crash into other cars. Burnout 3, however.
Was so much fun. Yeah.
Was so much fun. Like it was really easy to crash other cars, but it was also really fun. You got a high score if you drove really close to a car or grazed it or grazed the railing or anything like that. And just the game, I've never felt such an amazing sense of speed in a racing game like I've before I played Burnout 3. And that was just an experience. It was fantastic, and I enjoyed like every second of it. The crash mechanics. They even had a mode in there where where they wanted you to create the most mayhem possible in a really strategic kind of way. Like how could you crash into these cars to achieve the most kind of mayhem on that specific scene. It was almost like Stunt Island, old PC game I really enjoyed. So, fantastic, crash mechanics, an amazing soundtrack at that time. I really liked the music they put in that game, which made it all the more, sad that if you played in, in split screen, multiplayer, two-player, they took out the music for some reason.
Really?
That was like really, really disappointing. I wanted to play that with a few friends. Like, man, the music in this game is cool. And then like, no music. And I was like, what? Man, it was really, really disappointing. But other than that, it's easily the longest time I've spent on a racing game because it's so much fucking fun.
Was there a Burnout 4 before Paradise?
There was Burnout 4 and there was Burnout 5 Dominator, but...
oh, really?
Yeah, but they were both not as good as Takedown in my opinion.
Yeah, Takedown was the best in my opinion as well. Like, that's the one I enjoyed playing most with friends and like screaming like hell whenever somebody crashed it and like, oh, I just made you crash, bitch, something like that. It's hilarious. It's awesome. And that's what I was so disappointed actually with Burnout Paradise because it didn't have the split screen option anymore. So
what?
Yeah,
oh, that's total fucking bullshit. Removing the split. How could you remove the split screen option from Burnout? Fucking hell!
It's like literally one of the best split screen games of all time in my opinion, especially 3. And then like the next, like Burnout Paradise wasn't even that bad. I think it's a pretty good game, but I played that game. Issues. I played that game for the split screen for like the multiplayer. So.
If you're actually looking for like a good alternative to Burnout, with that I think captures the spirit. MotorStorm, like on PlayStation 3, like the MotorStorm games, I really feel picked up where Burnout left off, like the classic Burnout games, and specifically MotorStorm 2, Pacific Rift is amazing. It's amazing.
Pacific Rift, yeah. You actually have like giant robots and monsters fighting in the crowd while you're racing. Oh, that would be amazing. But no, yeah. I really like, MotorStorm 2, kind of picked up. MotorStorm 1 also did have split screen for some stupid reason.
Oh, fucking idiots.
MotorStorm 2 kind of picked up because it also had like those amazing crashes, but it's not the same as like Burnout. That was just great, yeah.
The third one, MotorStorm Apocalypse, has like earthquakes and all sorts of crazy shit happening. But again, I feel the same way I felt about Burnout, the Burnout sequels. Like the third MotorStorm game was actually too focused on creating chaos. So maybe you guys would fucking love it. I don't know.
No, I actually played it. I actually played the last MotorStorm, and I just didn't feel as good as the other ones. I don't know why.
I agree with you. So with that, we're gonna come on to one of our questions, and that would be, EA is basically renowned as like this evil company. Whether they deserve it or not, that's down to your personal opinion, I suppose. So, but how could potentially EA fuck up your favorite games? Yeah, what would they do to those franchises? So, Brack, you authored this question, so why don't you lead in and tell us what you think about that?
Yeah, when I made this question, I wasn't thinking about like EA games. I was thinking about what if like EA acquires like they buy like Rockstar, and how are they going to fuck up Max Payne or GTA? And in my example, they're going to have Uncharted. EA for some reason, it's like, you know what, I'm gonna pay like Sony like $500 million or something for Uncharted, and we're gonna milk the hell out of it. So in Uncharted like 12, you play as Drake and Elena's grandchildren who have to save like Drake's grandpa Drake from like stupid like zombies or something. Like that's what I expect from EA, to like make it like more stupid and more over the top and just kind of milk the hell out of it. Like EA is like the poster boy for milking the hell out of video games until nobody likes them anymore.
I can totally imagine that. Like, if they got their hands on Journey, like, you know, Journey 5 would be the mission to rescue the boss, the boss white thing, that big fucking huge giant white thing, like, that kind of mentors you through the game. It'd be your mission to rescue him from like his like kidnappers who have like got him in a cage and are gonna take him to like an alternative dimension or whatever. And you'd be like kitted out in like Journey style SWAT gear.
Journey 6, Journey Harder, now with actual music by Journey. Main character is played by Nolan North and Kevin Spacey. And like,
And you have to pay for each song individually.
Yeah, sure.
And the best gun in the game, the muffler gun, where like he has a bazooka that actually fires like a piece of scarf that wraps around like the opponent's head and suffocates them to death. Like it's DLC, goddammit. How about you, Human Metal? How would EA fuck up your favorite game?
Well, they're infamous for, doing this paid DLC shit. So I thought they would like release maybe a Street Fighter game, but only include half of the characters and make the rest of them paid on this DLC. Oh wait.
Yeah.
Capcom already did that with Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Wait, let me try this again. They would create a wonderful RPG that arguably surpasses its predecessors, but they never release a sequel to it. Shit, Capcom did that with Okami. Wait, let me try this one more time. They would announce a new promising iteration in a really popular franchise, get the fans invested and then cancel it for no good reasons whatsoever. Wait a minute. Capcom already did that with Mega Man Legends 3 and all the other Mega Man games. Holy shit, this is a revelation. Capcom and EA are the same company. Whoa!
I heard, it's like I heard some sarcasm.
What? No.
Are you maybe holding a grudge against Capcom?
No.
Really? No, he's holding a rifle against Capcom's head, I think.
No, but seriously, EA does a lot of shit, but I guess I don't buy enough games from them to, make me that angry. I mean, I never understood how they got to that top list for I don't know, was it the year before last year where people should vote on the worst company of the year, and EA for some reason got to the top of the list before National Bank of America and stuff like that.
That was kind of fucked up. Like
it was like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? It's just a game company.
Wow.
I mean, get real.
But it didn't ruin the economy. Like they're just try to milk as much money out of gamers. That's all they do.
So you got to be proud of gamers for making their voice heard in that situation. I mean,
obviously.
It's pretty damn funny. Rage of the Nerd Boys.
If gamers have proven anything that they can get, that they're very adamant about making their voices getting heard, even if it's not justified. But yeah, I mean, they've pulled a lot of shit in the past, but it hasn't affected me that much. It just, because I've bought more games from Capcom, that those bad decisions have affected me more. But yeah, definitely there was a lot of stuff, especially in terms of, steering franchises in a direction that people were not happy with, or just releasing broken games like Battlefield 4 or SimCity, that were just not finished, but they want to rush them out there because they wanted to get the monies. But Choo-Choo, did you come up with another way how they could ruin your favorite games?
No, so I'm going to take things literally. Literally, how could EA fuck up your favorite games? Well, I guess some people are just really desperate. I mean, so, they take your favorite game. Let's see, what's my favorite game? Possibly BioShock Infinite, possibly. So they're going to take my copy of BioShock Infinite. They're going to be like, right, I'm literally going to fuck this disc. And of course, like the hole in the actual Blu-ray disc is too small. I mean, I I don't know how big the bellends of the people at EA are, but I mean, you'd have to have a pencil-shaped dick to actually get it through the hole in the Blu-ray. So they're going to say, right, I can't do that, so I'm literally going to take a pair of scissors to this and cut a bigger hole. Okay, they're actually going to cut physically into my like BioShock Infinite disc, and have their wicked way with it. I hope. So there you go. That's how EA would fuck up my favorite game.
But how could they do that when you already yourself fucked the disc of BioShock Infinite?
Well, I haven't gone quite that far. Although sometimes I do canoodle with the manual. Actually, that's a goddamn lie. No game comes with a manual anymore, and it makes me sad.
I was about to say, is that the reason why they don't put manuals in game anymore? Are you at fault here?
Possibly.
Are you to blame?
I sent a stained manual to a game company. It was like, can you please replace this? I can't see this girl's face anymore. So. It was Amy Rose from Sonic. Anyway.
Oh my god!
So we're going to come on to the next game of the list. So, Brack, why don't you tell us?
Yeah, the next game on the list, I was thinking, like, what was the next game again? No, the next game on the list is the Skate franchise, and specifically Skate 3. And the main reason is because the Skate franchise really surprised me. Like, after Tony Hawk, I really like Tony Hawk as a kid, but after a while, especially like the last generation, Tony Hawk fell flat on his face and never stood up again. I think because I don't know why, but still, the games kind of got shitty after a while. And all of a sudden, EA comes with a new and really, in my opinion, really fresh new skating game, which kind of takes it back to the basics, where like Tony Hawk was all about making like it really easy to make like the most insane looking like stunts. The Skate franchise really took it like really simple and like making like an ollie or doing like a simple grind feel really satisfying.
Grinding is one of my favorite things to do, at least when I was a teenager, if you know what I mean.
But yeah, Skate 1, really fun. Skate 2 was, in my opinion, a little bit less than Skate 1, but still really great game. But Skate 3 actually took the perfect middle point between like making every single trick feel really good and making like give you the possibility to do some really crazy inventive stunts. And like you can go online on YouTube and see some really weird and unique and really like impressive stunts people have done in Skate 3. So
yeah, mostly attributed to the amazing ragdoll physics in that game. The mechanic. There's so much funny stuff out there in terms of Skate 3 videos. I've laughed my ass off on so many of those because it's just there's so many weird stunts, like you said, where you think, okay, he's gonna crash into that, and this is gonna happen. And something completely different happens because the game just decides to spaz out and make the character do something incredibly unpredictable and stupid. And it's super funny. Just if you want to have a good time, go to YouTube and look up craziest Skate 3's stunts or funniest Skate 3 moments or something like that, because you will get your money's and time's worth. I promise that.
Yeah, it's free, so you actually definitely get your money's worth.
Yeah, definitely.
I haven't played a skateboarding game for a long time. But I actually did like the Skate 3 thing in real life once. There's this place in my hometown. It's called Hollybrook Hill, but hey, whatever. I decided that it would be really fun to skateboard down that hill. So when I was like a teenager and into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we skateboarded everywhere. So yeah, I went down that hill and realized that actually I didn't really know how to skateboard and couldn't stop, and then slammed into a fucking car and broke my fucking leg. So,
Basic.
Good job.
So I guess we're going to come on to the next game on the list, and that's going to be one of my games, and that's going to be Battlefield Bad Company 2. So I guess if I had to pick an overall favorite EA game, Battlefield Bad Company 2 would probably be that game. So there were so many great things about Battlefield Bad Company 2. The single player was, I wouldn't say it was the best first-person shooter, certainly not, but it was a very tight, well-made and fun multiplayer shooter. And if I remember rightly, it's been a long time since I played it, but the dialogue between the characters was actually really funny and entertaining. Yeah, and really well done. And there were a lot of like really great missions. I think specifically the one I remember is where you're trying to rescue the helicopter pilot from the like the Vietnamese kind of prison camp type thing, and that was just a ton of fun. Like that mission, it was just a really, really well paced and excellent mission, and I really remember it like very vividly. But of course, you know, Battlefield Bad Company 2's best thing was the multiplayer, and it was specifically designed for consoles, unlike the main Battlefield games. So, you know, playing it on a console, that really showed through, and it was just amazing. And I really like some of the design aspects, like not being able to go prone in the game was actually really benefit to how the game played, because, you know, you totally were devoid of those assholes that would just, you know, be like, you know, prone in the bushes, basically sniping people who walked by and shit like that you get.
Yeah,
with, like,
they were
Battlefield
literally
3.
in the bushes taking a shit while they're shooting you.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that would not surprise me. I mean, literally, hey, if you're waiting in a bush to snipe someone, I mean, if you got to take a shit, you got to take it right there. It's like, yeah, I'm getting up for a potty break. That's not going to work. So you can't blame him for that. I mean, well, actually, taking a shit in your, I guess you wouldn't be taking it in the bush. You'd be taking shit in your pants, unless you had your pants down, and you'd be taking it in the bush. Oh, fuck, I'm thinking about this too much.
Definitely.
But yeah. Anyway, the multiplayer was amazing. It was really really well made, and a lot of fun. And I played that for hours and hours and hours. Of course, rose tinted glasses leads you to kind of look everything with, you know, in the best possible light. But lest we forget the fucking circle strafing helicopters. Oh Jesus, those things were terrible. Like, especially when you joined a game and then you were already like hammered in your base. The enemy were on you and the time was ticking down, and there would just be like several circle strafing helicopters in your base killing you all the time. Like that just drove me fucking crazy. I think I must have rage quit so many games of Bad Company 2 because of that. But actually, Bad Company 2 is a game that has sustained its community and now actually is better than ever, because the people who play Bad Company 2 now, and I play sometimes, occasionally, they're actually like dedicated players, and they don't really resort to doing that kind of, you know, that really kind of heinous crap that a lot of the mainstream, you know, kind of gamers who are just kind of casually flying by would do. So actually, the games of Battlefield Bad Company 2 now, at least on the PlayStation 3, are really, really fun to take part in. So I sometimes delve in, especially because I got a couple of friends who, for some reason, like religiously play that game. Like, they're amazing at it as well. So when I join their squad, like, I'm always on the winning team. It's amazing. Like, they're fucking ninjas at that game. So great. But yeah, so great game. And the Vietnam DLC that was released for it was really, really great. I think it was actually more fun than the actual main multiplayer of Battlefield Bad Company 2, because it eliminated the circle strafing helicopters in your base, because they had weak-ass helicopters in that, so they were far more balanced. And also, the enemies couldn't actually get into your base. So very nicely done. So Brack, how about you? I know you got something to say about Battlefield.
Yeah, definitely Battlefield Bad Company. I was so surprised the first time I played it by how funny it was. Like, that game at times is really hilarious. Like, the dialogue between the characters, especially like when most first-person shooters, like especially military ones, the characters are just boring as hell. They're like really faceless. But this one, like, every character had like their own personality, and you actually kind of could feel like their friendship growing throughout the game. And besides that, the gameplay was just really good. Like, I think it's like more fun in general than the other Battlefield games. It was like a little bit faster for me. Like, you didn't have to run as much, like boring running before you get shot, like by some sniper that you can see. Like, it had less of that and more of just having like just fun gameplay. So I love it. I wish they would make like Battlefield Bad Company 3.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It'd probably ruin it at this point.
They couldn't ruin it any more than they already have with like Battlefield 3. Like,
that's a kind of different series, though. I mean,
not really though, because they chose Battlefield 3 over Bad Company 2, over Bad Company 3, didn't they? And I think Battlefield 3 So for me, for example, I mean, I played Battlefield 2 a little bit on the PC back in the day, but never really got into it. But Bad Company 2 was absolutely amazing, a real turning point for me. And I was in love with the Battlefield franchise at that point, especially because I was playing it all the time with my friend. And my friend and I were really excited for Battlefield 3, like really excited. I think about as excited as you could be for like a multiplayer game that's coming out. Got Battlefield 3, and it was like, this game is fucking rubbish. Like, it's just no two ways about it. This game is bad for me. Like, I know loads of people loved it, so if you love Battlefield 3, hey, more power to you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But for me, like, it was terrible. The single player was, I think, one of the worst single players of the last generation for me. Like, it was insanely boring. I could not get through like 3 missions of that single player. It was tedious in the extreme, especially compared to Bad Company 2, as Brack was saying, was pretty fun. And the multiplayer, just, I don't know, it's like you spawn, you walk 2 steps, you're dead from somewhere. You don't really know where you got shot from, but you got shot from somewhere. And it's just like, Battlefield 3 was like a bunch of people hiding in shipping containers. A bunch of people hiding in the bushes. Like, that, nobody's interested in capturing the flags or doing the objectives. They're just hiding in a strategic place where they know the fucking spawn point so they can get you. Like, oh man, I just got so tired so quickly of playing Battlefield 3. I mean, I played it enough to get relatively competent at it, and I did. In the peak moments where the teams were relatively balanced or I could get on a hot streak or whatever, like, there was definitely some fun times I had with Battlefield 3, but it was like one game out of 20 that I would actually really genuinely enjoy myself. And like, when I came to that realization, it's like, why am I playing this? When I play this game, I just feel fucking angry. Like all the time. If I was Bruce Banner, thought the neighborhood would be in serious jeopardy. So, like, when I played Battlefield 3, so I quit and never went back to it. And with that, we're actually going to move on to the next question, which I can kind of link to that because I personally am of the opinion that EA totally fucked up the Battlefield franchise. But yeah, how is EA fucking things up? So EA has a notorious reputation for doing bad things. So what do you guys think they have been doing, and how have the company kind of affected you or gaming negatively in general? So, how about you, Human Metal?
I think I should go first because mine was actually Battlefield Bad Company, that they didn't make a Bad Company 3, but instead made Battlefield 3. I think mostly because some of the hardcore like PC gamers were complaining about Battlefield Bad Company 2 was more made for like the console players and not for like the hardcore PC gamers that used to support Battlefield. And then they made Battlefield 3, which first, like, the single player, like, the funny thing about Battlefield Bad Company was, they were making fun, actually, of how stupid and overly serious all those military shooters were. And then they made, like, how dull it was, how dull, like, the characters was. And then they made, like, arguably the dullest, most serious, most boring campaign for a military shooter ever. And then the multiplayer, where instead of it being more hardcore and being more strategic, it was just more frustrating, like, and way more chaotic. Like, way more people just sitting in the bushes and, like, not, like, spawn camping and not having a strategy at all. And just, like, other people just running around and just trying to shoot as many people as they can, like, in the shortest time as possible. It was just way more chaotic than, like, the previous game. So they really kind of dropped the ball with that franchise, in my opinion.
That basically is exactly what I just said in the previous segment, so I'm sorry for stealing your thunder there, Brack. But yeah, I totally agree with you because you totally agree with me. So come on, but the time is not lost, EA. Like, get your asses back in gear, get together and make a console-specific Bad Company 3. Like, at this point, if you keep the main Battlefield franchise going, and you kind of like do a kind of sub Bad Company franchise, I don't think you can't really lose. I mean, they're kind of already like subverting the kind of the franchise by releasing like Hotline and stuff. So why not give us another Bad Company like game and make everybody happy?
Or maybe hopefully just keep like some of the stuff you used in like Bad Company and use that for the next Battlefront game by like making it more fun and less like Battlefield 3 and more like Bad Company.
Yes, I think they will do that, Brack. Like, that is a legitimate. I mean, when was the last time you saw stormtroopers like laying down on the ground or prone in the bush? Like, I don't think I've ever seen a stormtrooper prone in the bush.
Oh, and they kind of look, it doesn't really help much because they're like pure white armor, so like it doesn't really.
Yeah, it's like, I see you dumb fuck.
Yeah, all I'm trying to say is that unless like you're in like in the middle of nowhere where it's snowing, stormtroopers are not that good at hide and seek. Like,
maybe they're all used to like battling on Hoth. Like, and so it's like, yeah, like camouflaged up to the nines here. Look at this, amazing. And then they go to Jungle Planet. It's like, fucking hell, these Ewoks are gonna kick our asses. But yeah, I obviously I totally agree with you, and I think I'm really looking forward to Battlefront 3. I totally forgot that was happening, but yeah, that's going to be amazing. And hopefully, like you say, Bragg, that might totally recapture the crazy fun of Bad Company 2. So yeah. So how about you, Human Metal? What have EA done to fuck up your games?
Well, I was gonna pick the Mass Effect 3 ending, but we already talked at length about that. There's nothing more to add to that besides that it
sucks.
It was disappointing. Like I really liked the second game. I liked parts of the third game up to that point, and then I had this really unsettling feeling that that they're not gonna finish it when, you get gunned down basically, and your entire team that assaults the final Reaper, and it's like okay, so something is right here, something weird is happening, and yeah. And then it all, ended on a really, really sour and abrupt note, and felt rushed, and none of your choices that you so. And I was really adamant about getting all the right choices and character decisions and everything. I actually replayed both Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 to get the proper ending for Mass Effect 3. And then it turned out nothing of that matters outside of the first two games. It still mattered for those games. But yeah, in the end, it didn't really have an effect because you could still choose what ending you want to have. Those endings didn't really differ from each other and didn't leave much of an impact anyway. So because they were badly written and badly told and everything. And yeah, Deus Ex Machina out of hell, basically. Yeah. So it's one of the worst closings of any franchise I've ever played, and I hope it will not be repeated by any other franchises, because I don't know if it could take that if I like the franchise. So there you go.
Still, the way EA look at it, like, all is not lost. They still have time to recover. So Mass Effect 4 opening scene, Shepard is brought back to life by some kind of magic.
You know what's hilarious actually about how people were shitty like all over the ending? Like a couple of weeks, or like I think a month after like Mass Effect 3 came out, EA released a poster with like quotes on it, and like the most controversial ending in video games of all time. Like that was like one of the quotes on the poster. They're like, "Oh, EA, you son of a bitch."
How is it controversial? Everyone is saying it sucks. That's not controversial. There's no controversy.
That's such a typical EA thing.
Everyone agrees. Yeah, of course they would milk it in some way. Yeah. But it's not even correct. Nobody likes that ending. Jesus.
Well, I guess it is controversial because nobody likes it. Like,
no.
It's like if Gearbox suddenly released Alien like Colonial Marines with the game that was so bad it defined a generation. Aliens, Colonial Marines. So I guess, how EA are messing things up and the things they're doing wrong. So look no further than Dragon Age Inquisition. Actually a fairly decent game. I can't really comment too much on it because I haven't finished it. And actually I kind of ruined the experience for myself a little by not paying attention to levels. in the game. So I didn't really grind or level up or something, and then I accidentally entered a story mission that was like 2 levels above my level, like I didn't really notice, like, and then spent like about the next 3 hours tearing my fucking hair out shouting, "This is impossible!" at the screen before I realized what the mistake I had made. But anyway, so the single player is great, but the multiplayer is like a fucking piece of bullshit, man. It's like stuffed in there. Like a single player game that doesn't need a multiplayer game. But yeah, they've stuffed it in there. But then they make it the grindiest, most fucking insanely repetitive bullshit, like no fun piece of crap. And then they dare to basically completely bait you with microtransactions at every turn. It's like, hey, you've run out of health potions, have you? Well, yeah. Have another health potion for 100 yen, or like, that type of thing. Oh no, your weapons are underpowered, are they? Okay, well skip all that crappy grinding and buy a nice bow and arrow for like, 200 yen. Only 200 yen to you, sir. For the man at the back with the silver watch. Like, fucking hell, I hate that. Like, it's so transparent that multiplayer is there. Only for one reason, and one reason only, to fucking rape your wallet, to get you to buy shit that basically negates grinding. I hate it. It's like a crappy mobile game has wormed its way onto a AAA disc. It's an awful thing, and I played it one time for an hour, realized what it was, and was just like, I am done with that. I think that's the biggest sin that I personally have seen EA do, like a pure fucking cash grab of an idea. So with that, we're actually going to come on to the last round of games, and actually I'm going to start this time. So with my game, so I got 2 games for you. I'm an old fogey, as you may or may not have realized. So I'm going to go for some really fucking old games. That kind of were really memorable for me for various reasons. So the first one would be James Pond 2. Robocod, which is certainly an amazingly titled game. But yeah, actually think about that for a second. James Pond 2, Robocod. Now, someone, somewhere in the world, actually was like, what should we call this game? Like, we called the first one James Pond. So, that's hilarious because the main character's a fish. That's fucking hilarious. So, how could we up that? So, James Pond 2. Robocod. You can imagine like them, like, having a proper coffee break, like stroking their chins and working really hard, like writing things down on a sheet of paper to get.
I'm pretty sure it happened more like this, like. Hey man, I have just a great idea. Why don't you just call it James Bond 2? Robocod. Oh man, that's genius! Here, pass me.
And Bragg would know about that.
Pass me the joint. Oh, that's amazing. Let's get some pizza.
That's what how it's gone down. But the thing is, like, James Bond 2 Robocod, when I was younger, I didn't even think anything about that. But like, as I've gotten older, somehow that title seems more and more hilarious with me. I think when I'm 70 years old, that's literally going to make me piss my pants. Anyway. So James Pond 2, for those who haven't played it, is and let's face it, nobody listening to this has played that. So it's a 2D scrolling platformer. One of those really kind of awful ones that has like backgrounds that are either black or made out of like wallpaper, like old PC wallpaper with like soccer balls and teddy bears on it or whatever. And I think the character could lengthen his body into like a totem and grab like whatever it was above him and like shimmy along the ledges by like hanging off the bottom of them. I think that was the main mechanic of the game. I don't entirely know. And like Castle of Illusion and stuff, you could pick up certain things like apples or some shit and throw them. So anyway, that was a pretty standard platformer. I think it's one of those platform games that was actually made for the PC originally, like Zool or something, so the mechanics were very like PC-ish, and I played the Mega Drive version, the Sega Mega Drive version, which was kind of ported from the PC. But the reason that's so nostalgic for me is there was a period when I was about like 12 or something where I had a Mega Drive, and somehow I've forgotten what happened, but all of my Mega Drive games or whatever got traded, and I think I had an Atari Jaguar at that time too, but nobody wants to play Atari Jaguar. Exactly, yeah. I had played Alien vs Predator, and I'd finished that and was left with Cybermorph. And nobody in their fucking right mind wants to play Cybermorph. So
I don't even know what that is.
You don't want to. The people who do know what that is are like sobbing, crying out of like the like emotional scarring now. But like anyway, so I was left with a Mega Drive and James Pond 2 when I was 12 years old with no money and like 10 months to go to Christmas. So it was James Pond 2 or nothing, baby. So I became hardcore good at James Pond 2. So there you go, James Pond 2. Yeah, not much else to say that. So
yeah, the game actually is older than me as a human being. By the way, I just wanted to say that. And actually, I played a little bit of the game because. You remember like when PlayStation Plus was really shitty? Like in the early days of PlayStation Plus where you get like some free teams and like some shitty PS1 games? James Pond 2 was one of those shitty PS1 games. And I actually played it for like 5 minutes. And then I literally, like I closed it and deleted the game.
Yeah. James Pond 2 is a massively nostalgic game for me, but simply because I literally spent 10 months with just that game. But it wasn't a good game. Like it's a game now that I would never ever go back and try again. But coming on to something a little bit more interesting, perhaps, would be Die Hard Trilogy, another old game from the Sega Saturn, and probably PlayStation 1 too. But I think Die Hard Trilogy was very memorable for me because it was really ahead of its time and had a lot of kind of predicted the future or predicted a bunch of future games, like whether just did that exactly. So each of the 3 Die Hard films at that point, because there were only 3 at that point, hard to believe, I know. Actually, each movie had a separate gameplay. So the Die Hard 2, I'll start with, because that's the least interesting of the 3, was like a Virtua Cop style shooting game, yeah. So you could use the Sega Saturn's light gun or whatever and just, shoot criminals when they popped up like that. It's basically exactly like Virtua Cop, total rip-off. So nothing special there. However, the Die Hard 1 was a top-down stealth shooter game, which was pretty much exactly, and I mean exactly, like Hotline Miami. So I really think Hotline Miami comes, like really you distill its DNA down, it comes directly from Die Hard Trilogy, I think. I think the makers of Hotline Miami played Die Hard Trilogy and were like, shit, why don't we have more games like that fucking Die Hard game in Die Hard Trilogy? Like, seriously, go back and look at the original game from Die Hard Trilogy. Like, it's Hotline Miami. It's the prototype for that game. And Die Hard, with a Vengeance, the third game in the franchise, was like GTA 3 before GTA 3 existed. So it was the one of the first ever, no, probably the first ever game where you could drive a car freely around the city streets. And the city streets were set out in kind of like a grid pattern. And basically you drove around and you had to get these bombs, basically, before they went off. So basically the whole game was just driving around these streets looking for these bombs. But you could run over people and you could like plow through like, like tables on the sidewalk and stuff, exactly like you could in GTA 3, And I remember the voiceover from Samuel L. Jackson saying, "Are you aiming for those people?" And if you like ran over a whole bunch of people,
no, just
like,
that mime.
But there'd be like blood coming over your screen or something, and the window wipers would be like smishing off the blood off the screen in Die Hard Arcade and in Die Hard Trilogy, sorry. And you just have. they'd have this thing on a loop. So every time you hit something, Samuel L. Jackson would say that line. But if you hit many people in a row, it'd literally be like, "Are you aiming for the? Are you aiming for the? Are you aiming for those people?" It's just an amazing piece of gaming. And of course, in Die Hard with a Vengeance, no, maybe the mime, but in Die Hard Trilogy is like, yes, I was. I genuinely was. But it was a shitty game, actually, the Die Hard with a Vengeance. But however, that free driving grid-based aspect of the game totally informed Grand Theft Auto 3. And so I think if it hadn't been for that game, I think I wouldn't say Grand Theft Auto would have been less likely, but I think Grand Theft Auto 3 would have been more of a surprise if Die Hard Trilogy hadn't done it first. Yeah. So there you go.
Really shitty. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm done, and I guess probably you guys don't have any opinions on either of those games, although Brack had an interesting one, Robocop 2. So how about you guys? Yeah, what's your joint last pick on the list?
Our joint last pick, and I'm gonna go first without asking Human Metal because fuck him. Is Mirror's Edge. And
you hear that? He said he's okay with that. He's okay with you fucking him. Wow, he likes that. He's into that.
I'm sorry, man. You're not my type. Like I said, Mirror's Edge. For all the shit I give EA, and I give EA a lot of shit, and all the things they mess up, every once in a while, they make something really unique and great, and Mirror's Edge is, in my opinion, like one of the best games they have made, especially because it's such a good move, or like a ballsy move, to make like a first-person shooter, like a big-budget first-person shooter that's not at all about shooting. Like, there are guns in there every once in a while, but most of the game is first-person, like running and jumping. It's like a first-person platforming game. I think especially with like the way it looks, and also having like a female protagonist, which doesn't really happen enough in the game industry. I think it's a really like a ballsy move from EA, and I really give them like my they get some respect from me for that game.
I love to put ballsy moves on females.
We know you do.
Balls all over the females.
Ignoring the sad, exhausted undertone in my voice, let me give you my 2 cents about Mirror's Edge. I completely agree with everything Brack said. It's an amazing game. I played it quite a while after it came out, when it was on sale on Steam, because there was this Mirror's Edge game we wanted to try out. Never got around to it, but then I did, and that game is amazing. Like you said, it's mostly about the platforming and the parkour mechanics in that game. I mean, in the later levels, it's more important that you have a gun in your hand, but in the beginning you can do, with running and, close quarter combat. And it's fantastic. The mechanics work really well, where to jump and everything, because the graphics are actually laid out, created in a way that give you, easy hints to where to go and where to jump. I mean, you don't have to do it, and you can turn that off if you want to. But the graphical style is really clean, really simple in terms of coloring and in terms of modeling and everything. A lot of stuff is white, and if there's a streak of red color or green color in there, you make it out immediately, and you know where to go and you know what to do. And the game takes you by the hand, but not too not too aggressively. Just it all feels like very natural and gels very much with the gameplay. Just it never feels forced, and it's really entertaining. It's I can imagine people who have their problems with first person shooters in general in terms of getting motion sick would really have a problem with this game, because it's really exciting. You jump over so many drop downs and everything, and do really quick and risky maneuvers, and there's a lot of camera motion in there. Like the first person experience in this game is really enticing and engaging. So if you can't handle first person camera, don't play Mirror's Edge. You're missing out, but don't play Mirror's Edge.
Yeah. I actually think like when you're sick and you really should puke, like to make you feel better, you should just play Mirror's Edge, especially if you have like a virtual reality glasses or something.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna make you puke in like seconds. Like,
oh man, I so hope if EA isn't doing it themselves, but I so hope once virtual reality like Oculus Rift and SteamVR and everything are well established, someone does a VR patch for Mirror's Edge, because I really want to play that game with VR goggles on. That would be amazing. And also, of course, recently EA has announced a sequel, which nobody really expected to happen, and I hope they don't fuck it up. But I'm pretty sure that will get VR support, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel to that game, because Bragg, I enjoyed it immensely, and can't wait to get into that world again. Great stuff.
But hey, that's our opinion on the EA. But what's your opinion, oh valued listener? Feel free to fill up the comment section like EA fills up their games with EULAs and microtransactions. And now to Human Metal for some shilling.
Yeah, send questions or comments about the show to creaturepodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter and YouTube. We'd like to hear your opinion on the show.
That sounded so professional.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
It sounded so professional and soulless, a bit like EA. So,
yeah, just in the spirit of this episode.
And with that, we've come to the end of this week's Visit to the Ocean Floor. Please join us next time you find an entire dolphin carcass stuffed inside a can of tuna. Until then,
God, no!
This is the Radiophonic Sea Creatures.
Some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill.